Hi, welcome to OCTV Studios. Today we are doing My Life, and I'm sure most of you recognize this face. With me is Jack Curtis, and I do want to talk to you definitely about your new job. But first I want to go way back. Let's start with, where does your family come from?
Well, we grew up and graduated from Warren Cousino High School back in 1971.
You make it sound like that was a long time ago.
Let me tell you, we're coming up on our 50th year anniversary.
Are you really? Wow.
Yes,
Isn't
we
that
are.
something? Wow.
Yes.
So you grew up in Warren. Where are your parents from? Where's your dad from?
Detroit. They were all grew up in Detroit, downtown. Connors and Gratiot, right by City Airport.
Oh, sure.
I was 6 years old when we moved from Longview, which is a half a block away from the airport, and moved to the city of Warren back when it was farm fields.
Yeah. Back then it was. I can remember having to take Rochester Road to get to Warren, so I had family in Warren for sure.
I go back there every once in a while, and I remember as a little kid when we first arrived at our Delta-built 900 square foot home, the Rinky Farms were behind us.
Yeah.
And we walked on the first lot we saw, and I stepped on a pheasant. And it was
Oh,
so,
for heaven's sakes.
it just stuck in my mind. But yeah, so.
You must have felt like you were moving out to the country then.
Oh, back then it was the country.
It was.
12 Mile Road was a 2-lane asphalt road with farm water drainage ditches. Yeah, the Lorraine drain was all open at the time.
Oh my gosh, Lorraine Avenue.
Yes.
Lorraine and 13 Mile, that whole neighborhood was all brand new.
Yes, it was.
In like the mid-70s.
In the 70s it was new, because I remember coming in pheasant hunting on the north side of 12 Mile Road with my uncles,
Wow. So what made your parents move up there? So what did your dad do for a living?
He was a tool and die maker.
Oh, was he?
Yes. My dad partially owned a shop, a tool and die shop on Grossbeck between 8 and 9 Mile Road.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yep, and he was a tool maker out of the Navy, and my mom was a school secretary.
Oh, yeah.
For the Warren Consolidated Schools.
Oh, that was such a great job. So you had to toe the line when you were in school,
Well, let
right?
me tell you something. A group of kids one day decided they were going to take the day off school, and one of the other secretaries was talking to my mom and asked, "Hey, how's Jack feeling today?"
So you were in that group of kids?
Yes, I was. And needless to say, my mom left her job and went to all the homes and found us all and got us back to school.
How funny. What a cool place to grow up. So I spent many weeks during the summer in those neighborhoods, same neighborhoods you were in. And what a great place. You didn't just have one friend, or you'd drive by a house and there'd be 15 bicycles in front of the house.
Oh, I'll tell you what, when you grew up in a 900 square foot home, you got kicked outside when you had three other brothers and sisters, and the whole block always played together. And you had a baseball game or a kickball game or kick the can or all those games, hide and seek. And the old story goes, you better be home by the streetlights come on, and well, I'll tell you what, you were there.
That's right. That's right. Or somebody's mom would whistle and everybody came running.
My dad could whistle from one block to the next, and you better come running.
Isn't that something? And you just can't do that with your kids now. I mean, they have to be in your backyard. They can't really go any farther than your backyard, or you're going to worry about them.
You should.
What a shame.
Exactly. That's a shame, but.
What made your family move up to that area? Just because it was an up-and-coming area?
Up-and-coming area, getting, Warren at the time was a boom town.
Yes,
and
it was.
Affordable housing, out in the country, if you will. The school systems, and a lot of promises of better life in the suburbs, if you will.
Very much like what Oxford is now.
Very much like Oxford is now, yes.
And it's still a booming area. What I found very interesting about that area was there were pockets of ethnic groups that we were all accepted in, which was really neat. You got to know everybody's
Let me help you.
The
culture.
Food and their culture, exactly.
Language.
Yeah.
We knew.
You knew what Polish food tasted like,
we
and
knew what Italian food was. We went over here. If we wanted Polish food, we went
at
here.
night for dinner.
It was fantastic.
Yeah, it really was. It was a great neighborhood to be in.
Very diverse.
And so so you went through Cousino. You graduated from Cousino. What happened after that?
I went to Macomb Community College for a while, and I got hired in at General Motors when I was 18. Happenstance, I was in the right place at the right time. I got hired in at 18. I was a timekeeper, walking the line, taking the cards out, adding up the hours worked, then making out the paychecks for the employees. And I continued my education through an associate's degree from Macomb Community College.
Now, was that something that GM helped you with? I know around that time they were helping people with college educations.
Prior to working at GM, I had started at Macomb, because I graduated from high school when I was 17. So I had almost a half a year of college in before 18 came around. And I got to work at GM, and they would do the tuition reimbursement.
Great, really nice.
Yes, it was great.
And you took advantage of that.
I did. And in the course of working with GM, I took many different jobs. I worked through financial budgets, accounts payables. I worked in hourly payroll.
Wow.
Then I had an opportunity to go out on the assembly line. I worked on heavy-duty trucks, anything from rear axles to engines. I worked on the final conditioning line, which meant prepping the trucks for shipping. Then we went to the light-duty van plant, and I started that up. And when one of the recessions hit, naturally, they shut the plant down, and I was offered an opportunity to go out into the field, if you will. So moved the family to Salt Lake City, Utah.
Wow.
I lived there for a little over 3 years, and then one of the bosses came out to do an interview or an evaluation at the time and said, I notice you don't have your 4-year degree. What's keeping you from getting that? And I said, well, you know, I go out on Monday, I come home on Friday. I travel all the Intermountain West. I went from Salt Lake City 1 week all the way up to Boise, Idaho.
What were you doing when you were doing that?
Service departments to do parts.
Service departments within GM or dealerships? Dealerships,
yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
so you ended up in dealerships for a while.
I worked out of my home. I had an office in Denver, but I worked out of my home. And on Monday, I would set a route up to contact several dealerships throughout the week. I'd travel to each dealership. I reviewed their part sales, their warranty sales, met with customers who may have had a concern or a problem with their vehicle, resolution through that. Working on helping dealerships increase their profitability through part sales and efficiencies in the service.
So that's a big jump then from going on the line, and I want to segue that jump. There's a huge jump from going on the line and then Salt Lake City and the dealerships.
Sure is.
Let's talk about that when we come back. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to My Life. I'm Terry Stiles, and with me is Jack Curtis. Jack, I'm going to rewind a little bit.
Sure.
And we're going to go back to your youth. So you mentioned a little bit you had some siblings.
Yes.
How many siblings?
I had 2 brothers and a sister, and that made the 4 kids in our family.
And where did you stand in that birth order?
I'm number 2.
Okay, so you let the oldest make all the mistakes and you did all the right stuff, right?
I had a great example of someone who
could
test the water, and I knew that I didn't want to do that to get the corresponding results.
Right, consequence.
Consequences.
Yeah, I'm the baby of the family, so I had 3 of them ahead of me.
Oh, you had a lot of.
I did. I tried to do it all right. So then you went through Cousino. You graduated from Cousino, which is Cousino High School. For those of us up here, the only reason I know about it is my relatives lived right across the street on Lorraine. And then you ended up at GM.
Yes.
And a lot of people did at that time, but people didn't stick with it. And like you talked about, you were going to school, you were going to Macomb.
Yes.
Also, there's the downturn. I mean, how many layoffs did people suffer through from the 60s all the way through the 80s?
Oh, it was traumatic because I fortunately was in a position to not be laid off ever.
Wow,
and,
that's amazing.
38 years at GM.
Wow.
So I worked hard, and people saw that, and they kept you on or moved you to someplace
to a
that
different
was,
department.
Yes.
So is that how that happened? You went from the line, and then the next thing you know, you're in Utah. First of all, did you get married in between? You said you moved the family out to Utah.
In 1974, got married.
Okay.
Our first child, Brent, was born 1979. Sorry, Brent. Yeah.
Oh, so he's 41.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, and we'll talk about him too. But okay, so you moved the family then. What year did you move out to Utah?
That would in January of 1980.
Oh, okay.
January
so he was
of
already
1980.
born.
Yes,
Yeah.
he was just born. He's October. So we moved there in January of the worst time in the world. Here, the recession was, nothing was selling.
Right.
Fortunately for me, I lived right in downtown Oxford on Mechanic Street.
Oh.
And my brother-in-law
Oh my gosh,
purchased my home.
Oh, so you already bought a home.
Oh, I
in
lived
Oxford.
here in
What made you
Oxford.
come up to Oxford?
It was, I came up here one day with a guy driving around in a Corvette, and it was just a cute little town to come to. It was a destination at the time for Stony Lake.
Yes.
There were still trains coming through town.
Yes, there were, yeah.
I drove by the gravel pit, and I was amazed that all this was going on, but yet they had this compact and unique village with a lot of farmland around it and open lands. Yeah, it was. And I just said, I want to live there.
Oh, good for you.
Well, I worked in Pontiac. I hired in Pontiac in January of '73. So in that time moving out here, it was like one traffic light between the village of Oxford and downtown Pontiac.
Yeah, right.
And I worked at the truck plant, and it was one traffic light. There were blinking lights, but there was one traffic light.
Wow.
It was a 15 to 20 minute drive down 24.
Sure, right, it was. Yeah.
And at the time, in the factory, a lot of the people traveled south on 24 from Mayville,
right.
Lapeer, all the, I mean, a lot of people would come from the farms and go down to the factories to work.
Yep. Yeah, so that was in 80 you moved out to Utah.
Yes, I did.
And that was GM. You were a representative of GM.
Yes, I was.
They were finding out what was going on with their dealership.
When one of the plants closed down before they could retool it, like I said, I didn't like to get laid off. I wouldn't want to be laid off. So I found out that they were hiring for positions to be a dealer contact. And what my job was, I was a district service manager, and I would travel to the dealerships, review their profit and loss statements for the service parts, and also handle the customers. So it was a very interesting job. I had built the product. Now I'm servicing the product. End result was I had a lot of interest in putting more quality into the vehicle.
Absolutely.
And it was a good experience to see what you built and how people used it.
Yeah, right. And so you did that for how long in Utah? And then you mentioned Denver?
Well, our office was in Denver. We had zone offices, and I would have to fly to Denver once a month and do a meeting and report with my boss. Or dealers themselves would all come for a regional meeting, if you would. So we had to go to Denver, and it was a great experience.
Oh yeah, no kidding. And you're young, and got your family with you.
Exactly.
And were you still going to school at that time?
No, I had stopped going to school. The family and work was very challenging. We had our second son was born in Salt Lake.
Oh,
Yeah, so we have a Utah, if you will.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that was Brian, forgive me, 1981.
You know they're going to watch this.
You know they're going to watch it. They still love Oxford.
Yeah. So how many kids do you have?
I have 2 children, and later on I married Diana, and she has 2 children.
Oh, beautiful.
So the 4 of us together have, or the 2 of us together have 4 children.
4 kids, right. And you have quite a few grandkids too.
7.
Let's talk about the newest one.
Today would be 6 weeks old. Forgive me, Brad.
You're pretty good, though. You're pretty close on those days.
I have somebody that reminds me. But he's 6 weeks old.
So you were in Salt Lake City.
Yep.
But somehow
Yes,
you ended up back in Oxford.
I had a
Your kids graduated from Oxford, right?
All 4 of them
Okay.
did.
So
yes.
how'd you get back here?
Well, I had an evaluation, and one of the bosses came out from Pontiac, and he said, well, why don't you have your 4-year degree? And I said, well, I'm traveling every day of the week. I come home on Friday night.
When am I supposed to get it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
There was not a real, there wasn't a lot of accredited correspondence type college classes that were available. So he said, well, if you go back to Pontiac, would you go back to school? And I said, if I can get back to Pontiac, I'll go to Oakland University and get my degree. So that's what happened, and we moved back here in, June of 1983, October of 83.
Oh, okay, so you weren't out west that long.
No, it was almost three and a half years. So I came back and went to Oakland University. Worked full-time, went to school full-time. I graduated with 2 degrees from Oakland University.
Wow.
And it was very, very hard, but I started work at 5 in the morning. I'd get done at 1:30, and then from 2:30 in the afternoon till 10 o'clock at night, I went to school. So.
And you had kids?
Yes.
And you moved back to Oxford at that point?
At that point, I lived in Lake Orion.
Oh, okay. It's okay.
I know it is.
Oxford and Orion are siblings.
Yes, they are.
My heart is in Oxford because I spent my entire adult life here. But
Yes.
I was born and raised in Orion. So
I know.
it's all one community as far as I'm concerned.
We lived in Oxford down in High Hill for a few years.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then I got my degree and was working. And
your degree was in what?
Oh, I have a degree. I have a bachelor's degree in general studies with. I have a degree in communications.
Oh, do you?
And organizational behavior.
Oh, nice.
So I have.
Oh, it's serving you well.
Is it?
Oh, absolutely. We'll get to that. So.
Okay. And when I had a problem and I divorced and I got remarried a few years later, but I moved back to Oxford after my divorce, and that would have been in 1980. 1990. So I was gone from Oxford for about 3.5 years in Salt Lake City, and then 3.5 years in Lake Orion. So I'm back in Oxford.
But you had your eye on Oxford the whole
Always,
time, right?
always. Because I've owned several different pieces of property in Oxford. I used to own some property on Oakwood Road, and I owned a house in Oxford. Oxford has always been my roots. I love Oxford.
Yeah, what is it about Oxford that you want to be so involved?
Oxford is just, it's a nice place. It's people make it nice.
Exactly.
The school systems, we graduated 4 children from Oxford High School, 1997, 2000, 2001, or 2002, and 2006. So the school system was great to our kids. They all went on to prestigious colleges. With degrees, and they're all working in their field.
Let's talk a little bit about your kids. Let's start with the oldest.
Okay.
And he's doing what?
He is
retired, right?
Yeah. No, he's going to be
retired. He's about to retire.
He's about to retire.
Yeah.
He's a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force.
That's just fabulous. You've had some great experiences with him.
Yes, I have.
Just looking at Facebook and the pictures that you've had on Facebook tells me that you're just one proud papa, number one.
Yeah, number
but
one.
he has led you through some beautiful experiences.
I've been to Alaska when it's been daylight from
sun up to sun up.
Sun up to sun up, exactly. Not even 3 hours of darkness.
Yes, and that's
And I've been there when it was 51 degrees below zero.
Wow, isn't that amazing? It really happens then, huh?
Oh, my Lord. I stepped outside and we threw that hot cup of water off and it just turns into a vapor. And I looked up and there's the Northern Lights and I exclaimed, "Oh my God, look at that!"
Wow!
And I was on a military base, the second floor, and somebody down below goes, "Isn't that beautiful?" And here's the Northern Lights.
Gosh!
I've been
to some people never get to experience.
Oh,
and that was his latest stint, right?
No.
Where is he now?
He's in Columbus, Mississippi.
Okay.
He's fulfilling his last year of requirement. He is a fighter pilot, and you have a commitment when you go to the Air Force Academy. Mm-hmm. You have a commitment once you become a pilot, and then once you become a pilot, to retain you, they offer you a commitment. And he committed to do another 7 years. The 7 years puts him to January of 2022. He'll have 21 years in.
Wow.
Yeah.
And he'll retire as a lieutenant colonel?
Yes.
Oh, isn't that incredible? And
yes.
You've also been to Germany with him?
I've been to Germany with him. He's been at Ramstein Air Base. I've been there in the winter at Christmas. We don't even begin to know what Christmas is like.
Imagine how
the
beautiful
whole
that
village
is.
Square. I know this past year we've been disrupted with construction, but I would love to see downtown Oxford be half as vigorating as German villages at Christmas.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic.
Incredible.
I've been
That's
up to the highest point in Switzerland and Germany and things. It's just beautiful, beautiful to see the world like that. He's been at bases in West Virginia, Florida, Arizona, Alaska, Alabama, and now he's in Mississippi. So I go there whenever I can.
And we're going to hear about the rest of Jack's family. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Hi, I'm Terry Stiles. Welcome back to My Life with Jack Curtis. We barely touched what you've accomplished. Your kids are your best accomplishment, there's no doubt. Tell me about the rest of them, and then we're going to get on to what you are doing now.
Son number 2, Brian, graduated from Kettering University.
Oh, really?
In Flint. Yes.
Oh, very good.
He is a...
wow. So he's a GM guy too, or did he end up
engineer? He is now. Doing his work at Kettering. It's a 6 week on, 6 weeks off. Mm-hmm. You're 6 weeks off, you get a job. Well, he landed a internship with General Motors. So his mechanical engineering degree, working at GM. When he graduated, it was another downtime at GM, and he got a job with Continental. Continental Automotive Systems, and he moved to Chicago. In the electrical field, if you will. Continental bought out a company, and they moved Brian back to Detroit.
Nice.
Yes, and he worked for Continental for many years. He was in charge of interface activities of Continental parts on the vehicles and GM.
Wow.
So if his product that he was in charge of at the time went on a GM vehicle, he would work with those engineers to make sure that interface was fine. A few years into that, GM headhunted him and brought him on. He's now the validation engineer for the autonomous vehicles.
Wow.
The interface of the camera systems, the sonar, the radar, and the lane changing stuff. Oh, the stuff he shows me and brings home is beyond my GM career.
You raised
tenfold.
some brainiacs, I'll tell you.
My dad said it skipped a generation. But I
don't think so, Jack.
But
I think you've done well.
Thank you. Yeah. So Brian is currently employed by GM. Through this COVID, he's working a lot at home, but he still goes out to Milford to set cars up, to withdraw data from the computers, and to run some tests and things like that. So he's very
Now,
respected.
he has children as well?
Yes, 2.
He has 2.
Yes, he has 2 daughters, Emily and Faye. Yep.
I saw them at when you were being sworn in.
Oh,
But,
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All the grandkids came in for
They're
that.
adorable.
We had to keep
that was
our
really
social
neat.
distancing because
yeah.
all this stuff that's going on.
Yeah,
But
right.
we managed to have the family over, and we staged it in different days and tried to keep safe.
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah.
yes,
You guys know
it's
about
tough.
that.
And
So now let's talk about your swearing in first, and then we'll go backwards. Okay. Oh, you have more kids to talk about.
That's right.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
you
that's
do.
fine.
You
Yes.
have 2 more.
We have, let's see, Amanda. I'm trying to think of who's older.
Who's older?
Amanda graduated in 2002 from Oxford.
Oh,
Went on to Western.
Like my son.
And graduated from Western with, she's going to kill me, a business degree. She went to work for Dave & Buster's and was in charge of corporate sales events.
Wow.
And a very
big job.
Oh yeah, because you had a quota to meet, and they contacted and sold all the corporate services that Dave & Buster's. Prior to that, she worked for Brunswick doing the same thing.
Oh, really?
Recruited by Dave &
Oh, that's
Buster's and
interesting.
came back from Chicago to
She got recruited.
back
Beautiful.
to Michigan.
Beautiful.
So
Did she do an internship for Brunswick, or how did she end up
no,
with Brunswick?
she hired in at
Through her-
Brunswick right out of Western. Went to Chicago
good.
and worked for Brunswick there, and
Wonderful.
then came back to work for Dave & Buster's. Got her back to Michigan, if you will.
Yay! Yeah, that's funny how your family just keeps coming back around.
They
Started
go
with you.
You know, I can't get them back to Oxford. We
Well,
don't have
they're close
airstrips and
enough.
land. Yeah, they can't land F-15s or
that's true.
16s at Handelman Ranch yet, but thank goodness.
You might be able to do something about that.
Yeah, no.
Handelman Ranch.
But
That's funny.
Amanda got married. She married Nick. We have talking to you. I'm trying to think of all these things. Corinthia and David. 2 children that we are now blessed with
Nice.
grandchildren, and it's a blessing.
Yes, it is. You bet it is.
Yes, and then Bradley. Bradley graduated from Oxford in 2006. He was the class president. Went on to graduate from Michigan State.
Oh, bravo.
Go Green.
Yep.
People don't know that Oakland University was previously an MSU extension
Yes,
school.
that's right, it
and when I
was.
went there, the books had it printed
Had
on
the
there.
green and white on there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yay.
He went on to get his master's degree from Walsh College.
Bravo.
He is an account executive at an advertising firm, and the account that he handles is Cadillac.
Wow.
So,
wonderful.
Yeah, it's
You-
pretty diverse
Well
group.
done. Well
Thank you.
done. You've done the right job as a parent to get that kind of
I used to have
result.
hair.
It's not easy, I know.
I know. Yes.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about how you are going to watch doing that and how you have on our next edition of My Life, because we're out of time.
Oh.
Darn it. So we will have a part 2 with Jack, and so we are inviting you back to that, and thank you for joining us today, and thank you.
Thank you.